Welcome to Inside Plug, the podcast where independent creators and entrepreneurs connect and inspire. I'm your host, Devon Jones. Today on our show, we have pro cameraman Chance Page. Chance, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, man. I'm excited.
Glad to have you. Just so you know, you are our first pro wrestling cameraman. Usually we have cinematographers and camera operators who worked on short films, feature films, documentaries, TV shows, all type of things. But what you do is unique. You're a pro wrestling cameraman. So let's start from the beginning. When did Chance decide that you want to be a cameraman and why pro wrestling?
So really it starts actually with pro wrestling. I did go to college at San Diego State and I did major in journalism and political science. And as part of the journalism major, I took a film class. I took a photography class, a class about TV journalism. But to be honest, right around the time I graduated was around the time I realized I really wanted to do pro wrestling. So that was my first choice, was to be a pro wrestler. But as part of, training to be a wrestler and being in the wrestling businesses, you're paying your dues. You're helping out with shows, building the ring and tearing it down, as well as having a job during the shows. Really, the big thing for me why I chose filming is I didn't want to be ringside security. That is the biggest thing getting me started is I hated being ringside security. Filming was a much better job and they needed somebody to help film. My friend Jose needed somebody to hold the other camera and film, and that's how I got started. Um, I spent a year training to be a pro wrestler, and I was filming our student shows at the time. At the time, it was Level Up Pro Wrestling and then SD Pro Wrestling Academy. But I had to stop because I got a series of minor concussions. But overall, for my health, I had to step away from that side. I knew I still wanted to be involved in the wrestling business, but I wasn't really sure with what. I had the cameraman experience, but it felt like it felt like an insurmountable obstacle to really get things started almost. And then I got my friend Jose Ledesma, who I owe him, and my other friend Kevin Stott, I owe, along with others, but they're the principal people I owe any sort of cameraman career to. They reached out because there was a need for a third person on hard cam at Game Changer Wrestling, GCW, for a show that was in the next couple days. And that's really how it got started is there was an open spot. There was an opportunity. I had worked with these gentlemen before and they hit me up for it. So I took it and that's how things got started from there.
Awesome, awesome. Shout out to Jose, shout out to Kevin. Um, and sorry about the health conditions that you experienced early on, but myself, and everyone else, I'm sure, is glad that you still pursued it and you're still keeping at it. So with that, what would you say has been an inspiration for you to, pursue, camera operations? Like, what was your inspiration?
Yeah. So a big inspiration, I guess, um, when thinking about wrestling, honestly, a big thing when I was watching. So I was into wrestling very early. I had to stop because I was injuring myself when I was like 6, diving off the top of my couch. I drove 2 of my teeth up into my nose because I landed teeth first on the windowsill. And then I headbutted my mom and busted her open. And that was it on that.
Oh,
But anyways, I got back into wrestling pretty late. And really, it's actually sort of a anti-inspiration is you see a lot of wrestling filmography, and particularly WWE around this time, is just really badly edited and just done like that. So that was really like an inspiration of okay, how can we do this better? How can we do better angles? If I were to ever edit, I'm not an editor, but if I were to ever edit and get into that side of things, that would be a big inspiration on avoiding a kind of it's like the Bourne trilogy style for something that should not be done that way with rapid quick cuts and stuff like that. So that's sort of an anti-inspiration. If we're looking for an inspiration though, just everybody I work with is an inspiration. Jose and Kevin in particular, the drive they have, the skill they have, and just knowing like if I keep at it, maybe one day if I can be half the cameraman they are, and some of the other people I've met, um, that would be awesome. I would be in for a long career. So I just working to continue improving. That's my inspiration, I guess, is just every day seeing Jose and Kevin work.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. So you've mentioned WWE, like I'm a wrestling fan myself. That's how we met. And I've noticed that WWE have like, like a ref cam now, and at some point they were doing something with like a drone. And, being that you are a camera operator in these wrestling companies, so for anyone that's listening, I met Chance at Primal Pro Wrestling, but there's also other wrestling companies that Chance has been a camera operator for. One of them is GCW, he mentioned Game Changer Wrestling, and then there's another one, Pride Style Pro. With those wrestling companies that you work for as a camera operator, are there any difference in capturing the footage?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one is a matter of there's kind of two broadly speaking. First, there are two ways in terms of um capturing a show, which one of them is just you film it and you edit it later. The other is live editing, which you can kind of put into two separate subcategories where you can just live stream. GCW live streams. Other companies I've worked with, like West Coast Pro and Prestige, just live stream their show to a streaming service such as Fight TV, or now Triller TV, or IWTV, Independent Wrestling TV. You can also do live editing just for a later release because it's a little more, from what I understand, it's a lot more convenient for the editor themselves just to live edit it there. If you're producing the show and editing, you're already going to be there anyways. You get the edit done, and that reduces the turnaround, reduces the time you have to spend trying to perfect it. Because I know Jose and I have talked, and he has mentioned when he was editing shows, because he's a perfectionist and he has that background, he wanted to like it was a lot of time spent. But that's the first big difference, is in terms of how the show, are you live streaming and or having it at least live edited, and that impacts how you film. You can be, if you're just filming um by your if you're just filming and it's going to be edited later, you can take more risks, because if something's messed up, the camera, they can just in post put it on a camera that's in the correct spot. They can put it on the hard cam or the other roamer. If you're live editing, you have to be mindful of, is the camera going to be on me? And it also depends too. There's different styles in terms of production. In terms of if they're just giving you a few basic bits of feedback occasionally, or if they're constantly letting you know, um, hey, this camera, this camera, this camera, and that both of those have their benefits and their challenges that you work through. Um, but that's especially like, you got to be mindful. Okay, is the camera going to be on me in this spot, or can I take a second and move to maybe catch a better angle? And then finally, I mainly actually work as hard cam. For Primal, I usually work as a roamer, but for other companies, I'm usually a hard cam operator. And there's differences there too. Some companies just want a static hard cam, don't do anything too risky, because it's kind of the backup to the roamers who are going to get the good angles. They're up close. Versus some companies like a little different. They like a little movement, a little bit of shading, but still keeping it safe. Some people want like you to do some zooms on there. Kind of that's high level WWE AEW style, is doing like zoom ins and outs. You'll see on a dive, they're zooming in and out as they're going along. Um I haven't filmed anything like that in a while, I don't think, where they wanted hard cam to be that aggressive. But there's still varieties in terms of each role and each person's preference. Depends on the producer, depends on the promoter as well. Promoters have their own, views on what the production should be. So that's all a part of it.
Awesome, awesome. And for the listeners who are unaware what hard cam is, can you explain what is the hard cam?
Yeah, so hard cam's the static angle. It'll be mounted For Primal, it's actually mounted in the attic of our place, but it'll essentially be a high up angle facing dead on to the ring, and it'll be steady to some extent. You might have somebody back there moving it around and shading it, but it's always on a tripod planted there. Some companies don't have one. Some companies have multiple. You'll definitely see variety there. And then roamers are at ringside. They're the people who will be at ringside filming between the ropes, getting the action through that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Another thing, so in filmmaking, most filmmakers like to use the red camera, the 4K cameras, and then we have like Sony, Nikon, and all these type of cameras. When it comes down to pro wrestling camera operators, do you guys have like a specific camera brand that you guys go to, or does that matter?
I think there's definitely variety in terms of preference, in terms of scale as well, in terms of what you need from it. If you need like both like GCW and then West Coast Pro and Prestige have for their roamers like pretty big cameras. Um, there's definitely an importance placed on it. Um, I'm trying to remember what we use at Primal, but we've also been like upgrading our camera and trying to get things through there. But again, uh, that camera stuff is all going to depend on um, are you live editing and do you need something that therefore works better when it's like just attached and feeding back? Or do you need something, are you doing editing and post and maybe it's better to have something that's a little more built for that? Mainly, honestly, the main thing is we just have like setting preferences, trying to get the lighting right, stuff like that. That's what's most important. Um, the camera definitely matters, but I'm not necessarily the biggest expert in it, to be honest. But yeah, there's definitely, I think, preferences. Let me look. Let me see if I can find real quick the camera we use, because I can find it if I go look at our old notes real quick.
All right. And for anyone that's out there listening while Chance's gathering that information, he mentioned some couple of bad bumps that he did earlier, practicing wrestling at an early age. When the wrestling promotions put on the screen, "Don't try this at home," they literally mean it because you can hurt yourself and you can hurt people around yourself. Um, I'm not a wrestler myself, but once upon a time in my life, I did have aspirations of becoming a wrestler. I'm not the biggest person, I'm not the tallest person, but with a lot of training, it comes with it and it's needed. So if you don't know what you're doing, it's not recommended to try these things.
And I think it's the Lumix. It's definitely the Lumix G something. I want to say the G320. That sounds about right. But that's what we use at Primal, and that's really good. That's a really nice camera, and it has its benefits of being smaller and more like easy to control. So that's something to consider too. You can get a big fancy camera. You got to have the people who can, yeah, and bigger camera, you can still figure it out. Even if your equipment breaks down, which like the stuff I've used to hold it before is broken down. If you essentially it's a matter of will, and that's a big part of wrestling training too. Like going to your point, like athleticism definitely helps. There were more athletic people in my class to be certain, but you also, and a big part of what they're testing you on, what they're helping you build when you're training in wrestling is that willpower, that, moving forward, not only expanding your physical limits, but your mental limits as well. So, if, anybody listening is considering training, if you're considering it, I honestly recommend it, despite how it ended for me. I think I prefer my life as it is now than if I had not trained in the first place. I wouldn't be in the wrestling business if I hadn't done that. And I would always be wondering, well, if I had done this, maybe things would be different. I don't have to wonder that. I at least gave it a shot.
Exactly. You never know until you try it. And if
Yeah.
I believe the Primal Pro Wrestling, they have a wrestling school, right? Um,
They do, and they have new classes coming up in the very short term. So they have they have beginner classes every 3 months. They start you in beginners. They determine if you're going to be able to pass once and they train you up and they build you up. And honestly, if I passed, you can pass. If you can put in, you know what I mean? Like I was definitely not the most athletic. And this was at previous school with a lot of the same trainers that they have at Primal. If I was able to pass, if you put in hard work and dedication, uh, you're at least going to find out if you're able to pass. Like it is something that seems very intimidating and it is very tough, but if you have the willpower, you can do it. And from there, it doesn't get easier. It only gets harder, but I still, as always, recommend it. Their new beginners classes, I believe, begin March 31st. That sounds right because that's a Monday. Yes, that's a Monday. So March 31st. And I recommend going to either Instagram, Primal Pro Wrestling, or their Twitter, now X, account of at Primal Pro W if you are interested in pursuing it.
Right, yep. And we'll get that link in the description so everyone can take a look and see if they're ready to make it in the ring. And if you do make
And by the way, we're San Diego based. I So if you live near San Diego, then yes. Otherwise, I recommend you look for. I still recommend you go. I mean, if you wanna move to San Diego, I'm sure my benefactors at Primal wouldn't want me to dissuade you from that. But there are wrestling schools across the country, across the world. So wherever you're listening, you can find a school, probably a few, depending on where you live, near you.
right, also just to add on to that, I don't want to show favoritism, but as a wrestling fan, I'm originally from New York and living in San Diego. San Diego, everyone that's out there listening, has some really good wrestling trainers. They are top notch.
Yes.
I kid you not. Like, okay, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 5. And whenever I go to these wrestling shows by Primal Pro, I'm blown away all the time. And I couldn't name just one wrestler that I like because I like them all. And sometimes I kind of get heartbroken when I have to see a wrestler lose. But that's just the nature of the business. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. Um, and speaking of that, Chance, who is your favorite wrestler? Not saying a wrestler in Primal Pro, but overall of all the wrestling companies.
Favorite wrestler. It's honestly been a while since I thought about that. Um,
If you can't give me one, maybe you can give me like a top 5.
there's a lot of people to leave off, but I will take a crack. Oh, you know what? I can tell you my favorite wrestler right now is Will Ospreay. I am completely blown away since he came to AEW. To be honest, I hadn't watched much of his work before, and this guy is as real of a deal as you're gonna get. Um, Another guy, same company, Swerve Strickland. Also just amazing. Always liked him, even when he was in WWE. Loved his work, and it's only gotten even crazier since he left for AEW. Um, to shift gears here, like thinking, there's a lot of Primal wrestlers running through my mind. I'm gonna try to stick to one, but I hope everybody at Primal who listens understands if I leave you off. I mean, Primal is incredible. They're always fun to film, always a great show. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the cameraman for it. Like it really is. It's awesome being able to film these shows. If I'm going to name one wrestler who is my favorite in Primal, um, I'm going to say, you know what? We're just going to round out top 5 with Primal. I'm going to say the Pump Line. I was just going to say one. But I mean, there's so many, like J2 Mattioli, CJ Tino, um, Robin Shaw, uh, Yassine Khan, Zara Zakher. Oh my God, no. Zara Zakher's got to be in that top 5. So we're having a top 6. Zara Zakher, uh, I'm like I'm overwhelmed with names right now. I'm trying to like sort them and get them out one at a time. Um, Asterix, Jake Redondo and Joey Lancaster, two recent additions who have also really impressive. Um, like I got to go back to Asterix, like the Hood Slam shows, very fun. They partnered with us at Primal. Um, everybody at Primal, like I'm jumbling names right now. Uh, but all of them are amazing. And then there's also people on the independent circuit as well. But we'll be here all day if I'm naming names from Primal and from the independent scene.
And hey, he's not kidding. Remember, I mentioned they are stacked with talent. Check out those shows. If you are even just visiting San Diego and you're around a time frame where a Primal Pro Wrestling event is happening, check it out. Do that. All right, so let's take a little break from camera operation. So when Chance is not working a camera, not in a wrestling show, what do you like to do in your free time?
So I spend a lot of time with my dogs. I walk them every day when I get home from work, or walk them twice if I'm here. I'm always trying to give them time. I love them a lot. Like that's everybody I'm sure thinks they're the best dogs in the world, but in my case, it's really true. Um, I do like to go to bars sometimes. That's always fun. Space Bar in North Park, shout out. Um, that's always my favorite place to go. They have wonderful dance nights there, stuff like that. Um, what else do I like to do in my free time? Play video games. I play some older games sometimes. Things like I recently finished a playthrough of Watch Dogs 2, which to me is like one of my favorite games I've ever played. I don't know if it gets a lot of like, and I don't know, I don't have the wherewithal to stand here and say it's one of the greatest games or whatever, but to me, it's one of my favorite games I've ever played. Everything, the story really gels nicely with me. The gameplay is awesome, but I'm not too sophisticated. I do like to play Fortnite as well whenever I'm in a gaming mood. And then I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I watch a lot of sports YouTube, whether it's for real life sports like draft content. That football guy or that franchise guy is an awesome, like he's doing awesome draft analyses on YouTube, or fake sports. I watch a lot of Madden playthroughs and stuff like that. One I'd like to highlight there is Mr. Hurricane. He makes wonderful content.
Awesome.
And I think that's about it in terms of my off time. There's other stuff, but I'm not really thinking about it right now. I am trying to exercise more so I can live longer, and plus try to at least compare to some. I mean, you see the athletes at Primal Pro. I'm trying to, I'm not going to get in any of the shape that they are, but man, I would like to at least be closer.
So you'll get there. Just stay with it. You'll get there. I believe. All right. So we're at that part of the session where I asked all the guests, what is a TV show, a film, or book you recommend to the next generation? Usually I'll say a filmmakers, but being that you're a camera operator for a wrestling company, well, what is Chance's favorite TV show, film, or book?
It's a good question. Let me see here. TV show, film, or book. I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I forgot to think about it. But what would I recommend? Let me take a glance here at my bookshelf, my handy dandy bookshelf here, so I can take a quick peek. In terms of filmmaking advice, I don't have a lot in terms of that. A TV show I enjoy watching. Atlanta was a very funny TV show. I need to go back and finish it because I only watched, I think, the first season and a half. But that was a very, very funny show. I remember. Um, in terms of a movie, I'm not much of a movie guy anymore, so I don't know. All I'm thinking of is like Fast and Furious movies. So you know what? Watch one of the Fast. Ellie, is it? Yeah. Um, and I have a lot of books, but one to highlight is um the original Thrawn trilogy from the Star Wars books. That is a very fun set. The original, the reboot for the new canon or whatever is all right, but not as standout as that was.
All right, awesome, awesome. All right, so before we head out, I'll let you get the last words. What is some advice you want to give to a future camera operator or even a future, aspiring professional wrestler?
For filmmakers, I would just say like seize an opportunity when you get it. that's how I'm here doing shows around. I've done shows like Pride Styles based in Vegas. I did a couple shows with them, and I'm hoping at least to have something to do while I'm in Vegas for Mania Week. I mean, if I'm in Vegas and I don't have anything to do in terms of wrestling, I'll find something to do. It's no big deal, but I would love to film in Vegas again. That was always fun. So fake it till you make it too. That's a big part of it. Like I do not have a filmmaker's background. I do not have anything like that. I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but like shove down that sense of imposter syndrome. Like just go for it, you know? And that's something I would also I think anybody, any wrestling trainer, any trainer at Primal would tell you is something for aspiring pro wrestlers as well. But in terms of like if we're talking day, like, in terms of you're just getting in, before you start, do your best to get your conditioning up. They're going to help you with that, but you want a base to work off of, because otherwise those first couple weeks are going to be really tough. They're already tough even if you're in shape or in some measure of shape. But they're going to be really tough if you don't do any sort of work. So whatever you can do to get yourself closer to being in that sort of shape, do it. And then because not only the first couple weeks going to be tough, the rest of it's going to be tough too. The first couple weeks are mostly or all working out. But it's still not going to get easier from there. It's very physically involved. So I would say getting your fitness right, and keep on that as you go along. That would be a big thing. Honestly, I think me not doing enough to keep my neck stronger is a big factor in why I kept getting concussed. There were other factors too, individual factors for each concussion and overall. But that would be something like when they tell you, hey, do these neck bridges at home, do them. Do neck crunches at home. Do whatever exercise, keep working out. You see these people who are training and these people who are wrestling will work out that same day. And that's the kind of attitude you got to have to be a successful wrestler. And that's something I didn't do enough of. I did my best, but something I could have done more and something that could have prevented injury and kept me involved.
Awesome, awesome. And you are still involved, even though it's not directly inside the ring, outside the ring, there's as they're doing.
Never say never.
There you go.
That's all I'm gonna say. Like I'm doing my best to do neck exercises and get in shape now. And you always have the itch, right? So never say never. But I don't know if I should have teased never say never. I might disappoint a lot of people.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Never say never. And keep going. All right, guys, there you go. That was our episode of Inside Plug. If you like what you heard today, check out some of our previous episodes. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Inside Plug with Two Cheese. Today, we had camera operator, professional wrestler, camera operator, Chance Page. Chance, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on. I look forward to seeing you again at the next wrestling event. And everyone out there who's listening, remember, if you're in San Diego, check out Primal Pro Wrestling. Also, we have GCW and Pride Style Pro. Inside Plug, signing out.